They called it the most expensive helicopter never to fly the president. To the American taxpayer, it was a $13 billion fiasco. A machine canceled by the Secretary of Defense, sold off for parts, and remembered as a political disaster. But to the Royal Navy and the Italian military, this same airframe is something entirely different. A submarine hunter, a search and rescue legend, a platform powerful enough to be described as a flying frigate. It survived political collapse in Washington to become the backbone of European naval aviation. This is the story of the Augusta-Westland EH101 Merlin. In the United States, it is remembered as the VH-71 Kestrel, a cautionary tale of cost overruns and requirement creep. In Europe, it is the Merlin, a tri-engine leviathan that replaced the legendary Sea King and reshaped naval aviation. To understand how the same helicopter could fail politically in America, yet succeed operationally everywhere else, we have to look past the budget sheets and into the engineering. Because the real question isn't why the program collapsed. The real question is why the aircraft survived and thrived everywhere else. Their Sea King fleets were aging. The Cold War was escalating beneath the oceans. Soviet submarines were expanding in range and stealth. They needed a helicopter with more endurance, more payload, and the ability to hunt subs far from shore. So Augusta and Westland formed a joint program, EH Industries. Their goal was ambitious: build one airframe capable of anti-submarine warfare, troop transport, and rescue operations. And they made one defining decision: 3 engines. While most helicopters in this class used 2, the Merlin used 3 for redundancy and endurance. Because if you are hovering over the North Atlantic or lifting survivors from a sinking ship, engine failure is not an acceptable risk. It made the aircraft heavier, more complex, more expensive, but it made it survivable. By the early 2000s, the United States faced a presidential airlift crisis. Marine One helicopters were aging. Security requirements had increased dramatically after 9/11. The White House demanded range, survivability, hardened communications, and advanced defensive systems. The competition came down to 2 aircraft: Sikorsky's S-92 and the US-101, a modified Merlin. The European design won, not because it was cheaper, because it had the range, cabin space, and redundancy needed for the mission. But that victory triggered the program's collapse. As soon as contracts were signed, requirements changed. Armor increased, electronics expanded, communications multiplied, weight climbed. The helicopter wasn't being upgraded. It was being redesigned while production was already underway. Costs spiraled. By 2009, the program was canceled. The helicopter hadn't failed in the air. It failed in procurement. The Kestrel's downfall became a textbook example of a modern defense problem: requirement creep. Every new demand added weight. Every upgrade required structural reinforcement. Every reinforcement required more power. The aircraft wasn't unstable. The process was. The Merlin had been designed for naval missions: long endurance, heavy sensors, stable hover operations. Trying to turn it into a nuclear-hardened presidential command center stretched it beyond the scope of its original design. The lesson was brutal. Engineering can solve problems, but it cannot outrun constantly changing objectives. The Merlin didn't become dominant overnight. Its real transformation happened decades after its first flight. By the early 2000s, the Royal Navy launched one of the most ambitious helicopter upgrade programs in Europe, converting the original HM1 fleet into the HM2 standard. This wasn't a minor update. It was a full digital rebuild. New mission computers, glass cockpit architecture, modern sensor fusion systems, improved radar processing, secure data link integration with fleet networks. Instead of replacing the aircraft, engineers rebuilt it from the inside out. The airframe remained, everything else evolved. This allowed the Merlin to operate not as a standalone aircraft, but as a node in a distributed naval battlespace, sharing targeting data, coordinating with ships, and supporting multi-domain operations. The aircraft didn't just gain new equipment, it gained a new role, from helicopter to system. That transformation is what turned it into the steel beast. Anti-submarine warfare is not about speed or firepower. It is about information. Submarines survive by disappearing into thermoclines, background noise, and deep ocean layers that distort sound and hide movement. Finding one is not a chase, it's a puzzle. Operators build search grids using acoustic sensors, gradually narrowing the area where a submarine can exist. Every propeller produces a unique acoustic signature. Every maneuver leaves a trace. The Merlin's job isn't to attack first, it's to understand first. Crews track patterns, predict movement, and position themselves where the submarine must eventually surface, reposition, or transmit. The engagement is decided long before a weapon is deployed. Because once the submarine is located, its greatest advantage, invisibility, is already gone. The Merlin doesn't operate alone. It operates as part of a naval ecosystem. A typical deployment begins with a carrier or frigate detecting anomalies through ship-mounted sonar or intelligence feeds. The helicopter launches not as the primary hunter, but as the fleet's forward sensor. It expands the ship's awareness horizon. From the air, it can reposition faster than surface vessels, scan wider areas, and provide real-time data back to commanders. This transforms a single ship into a distributed search network. Multiple Merlins can coordinate across a task group, relaying contacts, refining search zones, and guiding naval assets into position. The aircraft becomes a bridge between sea, air, and command. Not just a platform, a force multiplier. From the outside, the Merlin looks massive. From the cockpit, it feels precise. Pilots often describe the aircraft as surprisingly responsive for its size. The automatic flight control system stabilizes the helicopter even in extreme weather, reducing workload during complex missions. Hovering over open ocean once demanded constant manual correction. Now the aircraft manages micro-adjustments automatically. This frees the crew to focus on navigation, coordination, and mission execution. Long endurance missions, sometimes lasting hours, rely on this stability. Fatigue drops. Situational awareness improves. Crew coordination becomes smoother. Inside the cabin, vibration control systems reduce physical strain, allowing operators to monitor radar and sensor feeds without exhaustion. The Merlin isn't just flown, it supports the crew. And that's what makes the difference during the missions that matter most. When weather deteriorates, visibility disappears, and decisions must be made fast. The aircraft becomes a platform for the mission, not a challenge to control. The Merlin's defining advantage isn't just avionics or sensors, it's power. The RTM-322 engines transformed the aircraft's mission envelope. Higher lift margins, better hot and high performance, more payload without sacrificing endurance. This mattered in Afghanistan and Iraq, where helicopters struggled in heat and altitude. The Merlin could lift troops, equipment, and medical evacuations where lighter platforms hit performance limits. And because of its three-engine configuration, it retained operational safety even under damage or mechanical failure. This wasn't excess. It was resilience built into the design. While the VH-71 collapsed politically, the Merlin expanded operationally. It entered service in multiple navies, search and rescue units, carrier air wings. It became the primary anti-submarine helicopter for the UK's carrier fleet, a mine countermeasure platform in Japan, a rescue asset in Scandinavia, a transport and assault aircraft in Italy. The same airframe, different missions, same reliability. The Merlin succeeded for one reason. It evolved. Sensors improved, engines upgraded, avionics modernized. Not through massive redesign, through continuous refinement. It wasn't reinvented, it was matured. That kind of evolution rarely gets headlines, but it creates longevity. The EH101 Merlin proves that success and failure are often about context. In Washington, it became a symbol of procurement breakdown. In Europe, it became a cornerstone of naval aviation. The aircraft itself didn't change. The mission clarity did. When designed for a clear role, it excelled. When forced into an expanding set of political demands, it collapsed. Today, the Merlin continues to patrol oceans, rescue survivors, and hunt submarines. Not as a presidential transport, but as one of the most capable naval helicopters ever built. That is how it became a steel beast. If you enjoyed this deep dive into military aviation and engineering, make sure to like and subscribe. And tell me, was canceling the Kestrel a mistake or a necessary decision? I'll see you in the next one.